The Empire's fatal mistake. The Galactic Empire had conquered many worlds. Their armies were strong, their ships were powerful, and no species had ever resisted them. When their scouts found Earth, they thought it was just another weak planet. The reports were clear. Earth had no advanced warships, no planetary defenses, and no powerful weapons. Emperor Kale sat in his grand throne room, looking at the holographic map of Earth. His generals stood around him, all wearing proud expressions. "This will be an easy victory, Your Majesty," said General Vekas, the commander of the Imperial fleet. "Their technology is primitive, and their people are not warriors. We will take Earth in a single day." Emperor Kale nodded. "Send the fleet. Show them the power of the Empire." With that command, a fleet of 100 massive warships was sent towards Earth. Each ship carried thousands of elite soldiers, battle mechs, and plasma cannons strong enough to destroy entire cities. The Empire had crushed civilizations far stronger than Earth. This mission was nothing more than a formality. Arrival at Earth. The fleet arrived at Earth's orbit in a matter of hours. The planet floated silently in the darkness of space, its blue and green surface looking peaceful. Commander Xal, the fleet's leader, smirked as he watched the planet through the main viewing screen. "Pathetic," he muttered. "They don't even know we are here." The fleet began scanning Earth's surface. They detected cities, vehicles, and billions of humans, but no planetary shields, no space defenses, and no energy weapons. The humans were completely exposed. Commander Xal opened a communication link. His voice echoed across the planet. "People of Earth, this is Commander Xal of the Galactic Empire. Your world now belongs to us. Surrender immediately, or be destroyed." Silence. No response. The humans did not answer. There were no panic signals, no emergency broadcasts, no military resistance. It was as if the entire planet had chosen to ignore them. Commander Xal frowned. Something felt strange. In every other invasion, the enemy either fought back or begged for mercy. But here, nothing. Still, he was not worried. "Prepare the troops," he ordered. "We will land in 1 hour." Something is wrong. As the fleet prepared for the invasion, strange things started happening. First, the fleet's long-range scanners shut down. The ships could no longer detect what was happening on the surface of Earth. Then their communication signals were jammed. They could not send messages back to the Empire. Commander Xal growled in frustration. "This is just interference. Earth's atmosphere must be disrupting our signals." But his officers looked nervous. "Sir, this is not normal. Even in the worst conditions, our technology has never failed like this." Before Xal could reply, another report came in. "Sir, our surveillance drones are disappearing." Xal's eyes widened. "What do you mean disappearing?" The officer swallowed. "We sent 10 drones down to Earth to gather information, but all signals were lost as soon as they entered the atmosphere." Xal felt his chest tighten. This was wrong. Very wrong. The Empire had invaded countless planets, but this had never happened before. The enemy was supposed to be weak, so why did it feel like the Empire had walked into a trap? Earth's disappearing act. Then, the most terrifying event happened. One of the officers screamed, "Sir, look at the planet." Xal turned toward the viewing screen. His heart stopped. Earth was vanishing. It started with the continents, then the oceans, and finally the entire planet. Within seconds, Earth was gone. Only empty space remained where the planet had been. A deadly silence filled the command center. No one spoke. No one breathed. Then, for the first time in his life, Commander Xal felt fear. Earth's deadly illusion. The bridge of the Imperial flagship was silent. Every officer, every soldier, every crew member stared at the empty space where Earth had once been. Commander Xal's hands trembled slightly as he tightened his grip on the command chair. This was impossible. Planets didn't just disappear. "Recalibrate the scanners," he ordered, trying to keep his voice steady. The crew rushed to obey, tapping furiously at their consoles. The results were the same. Earth was gone. Admiral Vekas, stationed on another battleship, opened a communication channel. His voice was laced with frustration. "Zal, what have you done? How does an entire planet just vanish?" Zal swallowed hard. "I don't know. This is unlike anything we've ever encountered." Before Vekas could respond, alarms blared across the fleet. New readings appeared on the monitors. Something was moving. They were never alone. One of the officers screamed, "Sir, multiple heat signatures detected. They're everywhere." Zal's blood ran cold. What heat signatures? There's no planet. But before he could finish, the flagship shook violently, throwing officers off their feet. Sparks flew from control panels as red warning lights flooded the bridge. "Shields failing," an officer shouted. "Where is the attack coming from?" Zal roared. The screen flickered. Then suddenly, Earth was back, right where it had always been, as if it had never disappeared at all. The trap springs shut. It took only 3 seconds for Zal to realize what had happened. Earth hadn't vanished. It had cloaked itself, and while the Imperial fleet had been staring at empty space, Earth's forces had already begun their attack. Ships, dozens, maybe hundreds, had appeared out of nowhere, hidden behind a veil of technology the Empire didn't even know existed. They were human ships, and they were firing. A fleet that should have been weak, helpless, non-existent, was now ripping through the Empire's warships like a predator among prey. A battleship exploded outside the flagship's window, torn apart by human railguns. Another went dark as a swarm of unmanned drones overwhelmed its systems, disabling its engines in seconds. "This isn't possible," Zal whispered. "They were supposed to be primitive." And yet, before his very eyes, the might of the Empire was crumbling. A new kind of warfare. Humans didn't fight like any species the Empire had ever faced. They didn't rely on brute force or overwhelming numbers. They fought with precision, deception, and tactics beyond the Empire's comprehension. Their stealth technology was centuries ahead of anything in the Imperial arsenal. Their eye-controlled attack drones moved faster than any Imperial fighter pilots could react. But worst of all, they understood fear, and they knew how to use it. Across the Imperial fleet, ships began sending distress calls, their commanders begging for reinforcements. But no help would come. They were alone. Zal gritted his teeth. All ships, retreat. But the moment he gave the order, a new voice came through the communication channel. A human voice. The warning. It was calm, confident, and full of quiet menace. "Running already?" the voice asked. Zal's breath caught in his throat. "This is Admiral Holt of Earth's Defense Command," the human continued. "You came here thinking we were weak, that we wouldn't fight back." A pause. "You were wrong." Before Exal could respond, a massive pulse wave erupted from Earth's surface. Every Imperial ship's systems flickered and shut down. Their weapons, their shields, their engines, dead. And then, the human fleet moved in for the kill. The Empire's worst nightmare. The silence on the Imperial flagship was deafening. The bridge crew sat frozen, their screens flashing with critical system failures. Commander Xal slammed his fist against his dead console, his breathing ragged. Weapons, offline. Shields, gone. Engines, unresponsive. The Imperial fleet, once an unstoppable force, was now drifting, completely helpless. Across the void, Earth's ships didn't fire immediately. They didn't have to. They were watching and waiting. The illusion of power. Admiral Holt's voice echoed again through the comms, calm and measured. "You thought we were helpless." His words sliced through the air like a blade. "You thought you could conquer us in minutes." A pause. "How does it feel to be powerless?" Sal's claws curled into the armrests of his chair. His crew was looking at him, waiting for orders, but there were none to give. Panic set in across the Imperial fleet. Some captains screamed for surrender. Others tried to reroute power, to restore their systems, but nothing worked. Earth had taken complete control. The fire begins, and then the silence ended. From Earth's surface, a single missile launched. It wasn't aimed at any ship. Not yet. Instead, it stopped mid-flight, hovering in the void between the two fleets. It began transmitting a message. A countdown. 30 seconds. Zal's breath hitched. "Admiral Holt," he growled, forcing himself to sound strong. "You wouldn't dare. Destroying our fleet would mean war." "We're already at war, Commander," Holt interrupted. "You started it the moment you set foot in our system." The countdown hit 20 seconds. Zal turned to his officers. "Can we move? Can we escape?" "No, sir," one officer stammered. "Engines are completely disabled. We can't even steer." The countdown hit 10. A transmission came through from one of the Imperial warships. Admiral Vekas. His voice was shaking. "Zal, do something." 5 seconds. Zal gritted his teeth. There was only one choice. "Fine." He spat. "We surrender." The countdown stopped. The realization. A long pause followed. Then, Admiral Holt's voice returned, colder than before. "No." Zal's eyes widened. "You came here to conquer," Holt continued. "You didn't offer us surrender. You didn't offer us mercy." The missile pulsed with energy. And then the fleet killer warhead detonated. The fall of the Empire's pride. A blinding EMP shockwave rippled through space, wiping out every last trace of Imperial technology. Zal's ship went dark. His screens died. His communications vanished. His fleet was gone. All that remained was the silence of space and the distant, gleaming planet that had outwitted an empire. Earth had won. And the Empire had just met its worst nightmare. The Empire's humiliation. The bridge of Commander Zal's flagship was dead silent. The once mighty Imperial fleet, crippled, powerless, defeated. Outside, Earth's forces hadn't fired another shot. They didn't need to. The battle was over before it had even truly begun. Zal's claws dug into the metal armrest of his command chair. His crew, usually so confident, now looked at him with wide, fearful eyes. They weren't afraid of the humans anymore. They were afraid of what would happen next. A broadcast to the entire Empire. A flicker. Every Imperial screen, on every ship, every colony, every world, suddenly came to life. Admiral Holt's face appeared, cold and impassive. The entire Empire was watching. "This is Admiral Holt of Earth," he said. His voice was calm, too calm. "You sent your fleet to crush us. You thought we would kneel." A pause. "You were wrong." The feed cut to live footage of the Imperial fleet. Dozens of warships, once gleaming with power, now drifting like broken debris. It was a message, a warning, a humiliation. Zal's last gamble. Zal's throat went dry. He could already imagine the Emperor's rage, the punishment waiting for him. But he wasn't out of options. He stood tall, forcing steel into his voice. "Admiral Holt," he growled, "you think you've won. The Empire's true strength hasn't even arrived yet." Silence. Then Holt chuckled, not in amusement, but pity. "You still don't get it, do you?" Holt said. "Your fleet isn't coming. You've been cut off." Zal frowned. "What?" "We took control of your communications before the battle even started," Holt continued. "Your distress signals never left the system, as far as the Empire knows." He leaned forward. "You vanished." A chill ran through Zal's spine. A choice that wasn't a choice. Panic spread across the Imperial fleet. Captains whispered among themselves, their voices filled with dread. No reinforcements, no backup, no escape. The humans had outplayed them on every level. Zal clenched his fists. He was a soldier, a warrior. He would rather die than beg for mercy. But the rest of the fleet, they weren't as willing to die for a lost cause. One by one, distress calls filled the comms. "This is Captain Volric. We surrender. We surrender. Please, we." Hundreds of desperate voices. Holt gave a slow nod. Smart choice. A moment later, Earth's ships activated tractor beams. Imperial warships, once the pride of the Empire, were now prisoners. For the first time in history, an Imperial fleet had fallen without firing a shot. Earth's final message to the Empire. As the Imperial prisoners were taken aboard Earth's stations, Holt's broadcast played one last time. "The Empire thought Earth was defenseless," he said. "They sent their best and lost." His gaze darkened. "We don't seek war, but if you come for us again..." A pause. "There won't be anyone left to surrender." Then, the transmission cut to black. Across the Empire, trillions of aliens sat in stunned silence. Their greatest military force had been crushed in minutes. And Earth had just become the most feared power in the galaxy. The Emperor's rage. Deep within the Imperial Palace, the throne room trembled. Massive obsidian pillars lined the chamber, towering above the assembled warlords and high-ranking officials. But none of them dared to move. None of them even breathed too loudly. Because Emperor Valterin was furious. The holographic transmission of the defeated Imperial fleet played in front of him on an enormous display. Ships, once the mightiest in the galaxy, now drifting like broken corpses. His claws dug into the armrests of his throne, metal bending under the pressure. Then, with a single swipe of his hand, he shattered the screen into 1,000 pieces. A deep guttural growl filled the chamber. "Explain," he hissed. The truth no one wanted to speak. The room was silent. No one wanted to be the first to speak. No one wanted to face his wrath. Finally, Grand Strategist Ural stepped forward. He was one of the Empire's oldest and most trusted advisors, but even he looked shaken. "Your Majesty," he began carefully. "The humans, they did not just defeat our fleet." He swallowed hard. "They erased it. No casualties. No direct engagement. They outmaneuvered us, outwitted us. And," he hesitated, "and they humiliated us before the entire galaxy." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. The Emperor's tail twitched. His golden eyes burned like fire. "Are you telling me," he said slowly, "that the most powerful military in existence, my military, was rendered helpless by primitives?" Ural did not answer, because there was no answer that would save him. The High Command's fear. The warlords shifted uncomfortably. Some of them had laughed at Earth before the invasion. They had called humans weak, pathetic, insignificant. Now, they weren't laughing anymore. One of them, General Craven, took a risk. He stepped forward, chest puffed out. "Your Majesty," he said, voice firm. "This is a setback, yes. But we are the Empire. We have more fleets, more weapons, more warriors." He never finished his sentence. Because Valterin moved. Faster than anyone thought possible, the Emperor's hand shot forward. His claws sank into Craven's throat. The general's eyes bulged in shock as he struggled, gasping, clawing at the Emperor's grip. Valterin lifted him effortlessly into the air. "You are a fool," the Emperor whispered. "You still do not understand." Then, a sickening snap. He dropped Craven's lifeless body to the floor. The warlord stiffened. No one dared to move. Valterin turned his gaze back to Ural. "Tell me the truth," he demanded. "Are they a threat?" Ural's throat was dry. He knew what the Emperor wanted to hear. He knew that saying no would likely save his life, but it would also doom the Empire. So, after a long pause, he spoke the words that would change history. "Yes." The Emperor's expression did not change, but his silence was more terrifying than any outburst. a dangerous new plan. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Velterin exhaled. "Then we will do what must be done," he murmured. "We will erase Earth. Entirely." The warlords stirred uneasily. "Your Majesty," one of them dared to ask, "do we send another fleet?" "No." The Emperor's lips curled into a cruel smile. "We send something far worse." He stood, his golden cloak billowing behind him as he strode toward the central command console. He placed his clawed hand over a forbidden, ancient control panel, and with a single press of his finger, a transmission was sent. "The doom of Earth has been unleashed." Across the Empire, a hidden force began to stir. Something far older than the Empire itself. Something even its own warlords feared. The Apex Legion. A force of unmatched brutality, warriors bred from the most dangerous species in the galaxy. No diplomacy, no surrender, only death. The Empire had never deployed them before, because they had never needed to. But now, Earth had made them afraid. And for that, humanity would burn. Earth's last warning. On Earth, the stars shimmered as if nothing had changed. But deep inside the hidden command bunkers beneath the Rocky Mountains, humanity's leaders knew better. The war was not over. It had just begun. The impossible transmission. General Elias Carter stood in the underground war room, staring at the incoming data on the massive holoscreen. Every high-ranking military officer, intelligence chief, and scientific mind on Earth was gathered in the room. The Imperial fleet was gone. The battle had been a decisive victory. But then, a new transmission had arrived. Not a distress signal, not a surrender, a warning. It was encoded in an ancient Imperial dialect, one that had not been used in over 1,000 years. Even with the most advanced decryption it had taken hours to crack. But now, as the final words of the message scrolled across the screen, every person in the room felt a chill crawl down their spine. The Apex Legion has been awakened. Silence filled the bunker. Even hardened generals, men and women who had seen war, who had commanded forces in the most brutal battles, said nothing. Because they knew the legends. The Apex Legion was not a normal army. It wasn't just another fleet, another wave of enemies. It was something else. The horror that should not exist. Dr. Helen Vasquez, Earth's foremost Sino-historian, stepped forward, her voice almost a whisper. "I've studied every known record of the Apex Legion," she said. It's not just a strike force. It's an eradication force." The room tensed. She continued, pulling up ancient Imperial battle logs. "The Apex Legion is not made up of Imperial soldiers. It is a force of something else. The Empire only calls upon them when they need to erase an enemy so completely that not even the memory of their existence remains." She gestured to an ancient star chart. Entire planets were missing. Not conquered. Not enslaved. Gone. A force even the Empire fears. "We don't even know what they look like," Vasquez admitted. "The only thing recorded is the aftermath. Civilizations reduced to dust. No bodies. No wreckage, just silence." One of the intelligence officers, Colonel Hayes, exhaled sharply. "So we won the first fight," he muttered, rubbing his temple. "And now we've angered the gods." General Carter's face was stone cold. "No," he said firmly. "We won the first fight because we were prepared. Because we used our brains instead of brute force." He turned to the others. "And that's exactly how we're going to win the next one." Preparing for the unseen enemy. Earth's defenses were already impressive, but against an enemy they didn't understand, they would need more. They would need something the Empire couldn't predict. "We need intel," Vasquez said. "The Apex Legion is an ancient force, which means there has to be a weakness, something hidden in their past." Carter nodded. "Then we dig. I want every black site every deep space probe, and every classified archive working on this." He turned to the covert operations chief, Commander Reynolds. And I want eyes inside the Empire. If they're calling on their worst nightmare, then somebody over there is scared. I want to know why." Reynolds smirked. "Already on it. The Shadow War begins, even as Earth's greatest minds work to uncover the secrets of the Apex Legion." Something else was happening. Far beyond the Empire's borders, a single, unmarked ship drifted toward a forgotten world. Its hull was painted in the blackest stealth coating humanity had ever created. Inside, a team of Earth's best spies, hackers, and operatives sat in silence, listening to the hum of their ship's engine. Their mission was clear: find out what the Apex Legion really is. Find out what they fear. And, if possible, find a way to stop them before they reach Earth. But none of them knew what awaited them on that desolate planet. None of them knew what they were about to uncover. And none of them were prepared for the truth. Secrets buried in darkness. The Black Ops ship Phantom Dawn drifted through the void, invisible to all but the most advanced sensors. It carried the best of Earth's intelligence forces, operatives who had infiltrated Imperial strongholds, stolen war plans, and even walked unnoticed among alien command centers. But this mission was different. This time, they weren't just stealing information. They were stepping into the unknown, the forbidden planet. The coordinates they followed led them to a dead world. It had no official name, just an Imperial designation, HFY 37. It wasn't just abandoned, it was erased. No records, no maps, no Imperial presence. And yet, here they were, following a whisper from the past, searching for the truth behind the Apex Legion. Commander Ryan Holt, leader of the operation, stared at the dark planet through the ship's viewport. "Something happened here," he muttered. "Something the Empire didn't want anyone to remember." The pilot, Callie Voss, adjusted the controls. "Then let's find out what." The ship descended, cutting through thick layers of dust and debris. And then, the ruins appeared, a city frozen in time. The team disembarked, weapons at the ready, as they stepped into what remained of a once great metropolis. Towering structures stood half-shattered, their surfaces scarred by ancient battles. A strange silence filled the air, so deep it made even the most battle-hardened soldiers uneasy. "This place isn't just dead," whispered Dr. Eli Grant, the team's historian. "It's like time stopped here." Holt motioned for the team to spread out, moving cautiously through the ruins. Then they saw the bodies, or rather, what was left of them. Not human, not Imperial. Something else, and the most terrifying part, the remains weren't decomposed. They were preserved, as if whatever had killed them had drained the very essence of life from their bodies. "What the hell are we dealing with?" one of the operatives muttered. Then their scanners detected movement. The nightmare awakens. From the shadows of a collapsed structure, a shape emerged. It was humanoid, but wrong. Its body was sleek, metallic, almost liquid in appearance. It moved without sound. The moment it stepped into the dim light, the team's AI scanner went haywire. Unknown entity DTKT. No biological signature. No energy output. No classification found. What is that?" Voss whispered. Then, without warning, it turned its head, not like a living creature, more like something becoming aware. And then, it moved. Run. The first shot did nothing. Neither did the second. Holt barely had time to yell, "Fall back," before the entity vanished and reappeared closer. It wasn't teleporting. It was moving faster than the eye could process. "Go, go, go." The team bolted, sprinting through the ruins as the entity pursued, its presence warping reality around it. Then they saw it, a massive underground facility, half buried beneath rubble. The entrance. "Get inside," Holt shouted. They dove through, sealing the heavy blast doors behind them. Darkness swallowed them whole. Then the room lit up, and they realized they weren't alone. The last warning. In the center of the underground chamber, a stasis pod stood humming. Inside, something slept. Something human. Dr. Grant's fingers trembled as he wiped dust from the pod's surface. He barely breathed as he read the ancient inscription. Project Revenant, last hope of the lost. And then, as the room's systems reactivated, the pod opened. A figure stepped forward, and in a voice that sent chills through every soul present, he spoke. "You are too late. They are already coming."